Alright everybody, welcome to ClarksPlace. Here is the prequel video for all of my Charger pictures, all the work
that is the
done.
first picture ever taken of it in Beaverton, Oregon. There it is. I pulled the carpet back, showing Chris this car back in the mid-'80s.
No.
Yes, it was.
Oh, this is from the 1980s?
From the 1980s in Beaverton, Oregon, sitting on a tennis court.
I didn't buy it until like 2000. So.
I know. Well, I had all these pictures.
Wow.
And he still had the car. And then that's our place in Florida. We had it parked way back there on the lot.
And then this is it in Indiana. Pop's built a garage just for it. You can see it's the only thing in there.
Yeah. And
then these next pictures, I'll let Pops kind of tell the origin of the story. But this is in Terre Haute there. I believe that's in Terre Haute. And basically the car just has stayed with me for like about 25 years or so. And every place I lived, I took it with me. That is still Terre Haute. You can see I've got pinball machines all stacked up around it. This was my place I moved to in Fort Wayne. I moved around a lot with my job, and it ended up just having everything under the sun stacked on it. There actually is a charger in that picture right there. It's just I ended up with tons and tons of stuff. Oh, there's an extra cluster behind the seat there.
Yeah, there's a seat.
The last place that it ended up before it came to Florida was this Terre Haute. All these photos are from Terre Haute, and Pops just kind of documented the progress or the, what do you call it, the degradation of it. So this is all in Terre Haute, and you can kind of finish your story in Beaverton, Oregon. When I was in my 20s, I drove out to Beaverton with Mike Hedges from Mike's Mustang to get it. But I didn't know the pictures were from the 80s. I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah. We had a contract with Astro Tool, making crimp tools for the government. And they said this friend of the owner had all kinds of cars, GTXs. Boy, I wish I had a bunch of money. They were so cheap to buying from him. And he had this Charger on his lot there. And
tennis court. Was it in tennis? Because I thought it was there.
Yeah, it was all overgrown with moss. And called him back, I don't know how many, at least 10 years later or so, and he still had the car. They drove all the way out from
Maryland,
Washington D.C., Maryland.
Yeah,
all
I drove
the way
up from Florida to Maryland, and then drove his rollback across the country. Picked it up in like 2 days, and then it was another 2 days, and we were back.
Yeah.
And did it stay at my Aunt Janet's at that point? I think it stayed in her barn for a while
there in Florida for a while. Then it went to Atlanta, Georgia, which I don't think you got any pictures there. Then up to Terre Haute. There it is leaving.
There's leaving Fort Wayne, Indiana,
to come down to
Florida. That's the first picture of it inside.
There it is in Florida.
Yeah, that's the first real shot of it, and that one is just a wider shot.
And that's where it is right now, of course, and this is where we've been doing all
far different from that right now.
ClarksPlace. Oh yeah, I had a Model A at the time.
Yeah, you've got quite a few different cars. I think that you can see the transition of your garage over a couple years that I didn't live in Florida, and I'd come down and piddle with you. I think I brought all the Model A parts. There's a bunch of parts under that you bought a full semi-load full of Model A parts. And I think this is Jerry's down in Starke. I wanted to give a shout out to him. I can probably put his number. I'll put it up right here so you can see Jerry's number there. But then you had a bug, and the Charger kind of sits.
Had a gremlin for a while. Try to fix it up.
I think Mom or somebody spray painted home on it, and then I put the black stripes in the scallop just to see what it looked like, just because I don't know, I really had never seen one like that.
Yeah, where it sits now,
and didn't like it.
And there he did striped his '67 Charger.
Yeah, I just threw some black spray paint on it, and then this Dad put it out to pasture, and then this is my sad face.
I had to have room for my cars, so.
These are the Amd Panels. I've referenced it in some of the restoration videos that we've done.
That's how they came.
This is the driver's fender. That's how it came. That is the passenger quarter. That's how it came from Amd. And that's another shot of the passenger. You can see it's just caved in. And I became a lot better body man over the process, but all those panels came beat up from Amd. So if you get a shipment from Amd, make sure you inspect it while the guy's there. Otherwise, they won't take your claim. And they pretty much say to everybody, panels come with some flaws and panels come with some dents that a good body man can fix, which I ended up doing. But
there's his motor. We tore it down. Took a long time to get it rebuilt.
Yeah,
but we stripped it all down.
This was a 440. That the one that it had in it, it wasn't ever original motor, but the one that it had in it was not the high horsepower 440. I think this is starting to tear down. I think the video, or not the videos, but the pictures.
We still don't have the lift yet.
Yeah, not for a long time, but
he had an extra trunk deck and hadn't really started buying any of his parts for it yet. But
no, I think I bought all the panels first, and then I don't think I really did a whole lot to it other than we stripped it out before I actually moved down to Florida.
We actually had a guy come out. You probably have the pictures in here.
Oh yeah, that's in here.
With the dustless stripper, and I mean that guy went through I don't know how many hundreds of pounds of material, and he stripped.
What was it? Soda with a tiny bit of water in it, and he just blasted soda.
Well, it had sand and stuff in it too.
I didn't put any of those videos in because it's super loud and.
No, not the videos,
but I took a lot of photos along with the videos, so you'll see plenty of shots of him blasting all this stuff. But this is kind of it.
And it was I mean, we thought it didn't have a whole lot of rust in it. Even it was always inside when he had it for the most of its life. But after it was blasted, there were some weak areas that. I mean, when you're going to restore it and make it really look nice. You're going to go ahead and get the new doors that don't have any rust. Get a new fenders.
I think it just progressed and progressed as it was like, I bought the floors, I bought the quarters, I knew I needed those, I bought the rear valance. And then I thought, I'm done. And then the rear floor too, because it was pretty crusty back there. The rear tail looked pretty good, but then, I mean, it just had a lot of holes, which I later found out that all the holes actually are where all the chrome goes, because you take it all off and it looks like, oh my gosh, holy cow. But it just, all of the metal was not good. I mean, you can see if you went to buy a car that looked like that, you'd be like, man, that's pretty solid for a 69 Charger. But when you really get to analyzing and getting down to looking at everything with a magnifying glass, how thin is stuff, how bad is stuff, it's like it all needs to be replaced.
Yeah, do you want it to be your forever car? And I think when he started taking the panel off the back, or when it was stripped, there were all kinds of brass welder. I mean, somebody used brass rod on it, like it had been hit in the back end.
Well, that kind of segues into what we think. This car was out in Oregon. We've gone round and round whether we thought it was for the Dukes of Hazzard, that it was a jump car. It just had loads and loads of paint on it that it was dripped everywhere.
Yeah.
It was hit in the right quarter after we started blasting, after we started stripping it and cutting it with the torch. The torch stopped working. Well, there's an inch of Bondo in places that it was hit on just about every panel. I thought I was going to save my fenders and work those, and I mean, there's
up in the front on the inner fenders, on the front around the frame rails, both sides had a buckle, which I don't know if you have the pictures, but like it came down off of a jump and hit hard and buckled right in front of the cowl on those inner fenders. Yeah. Like somebody jumped it. It might not have been from the show or been in the show, but Beaverton's just up by Portland, just north of all of Hollywood. Like I say, it's all faded, but that red color, and it was all darkened out on top, like it used to have a flag painted on top or a decal.
Yeah, and it was weird because it had dark and it had white. Like, I don't know. You'll see in some of the other photos that it looks really weird that it's red and white, like somebody scraped off the flag and spray painted it. I don't know, but I bet you this car was painted as a Duke car at one point.
Yeah, I think
it wasn't in the show.
Right.
But it's been jumped. It had definitely seen better days, and I always thought the car was fairly rust-free except for the right quarter, is what I thought was.
Oh, I thought so too, but to do it as a forever car, if it's got a little bit in it and it's weak, we just cut it out and just replace it since they made all the panels.
Yeah, even that little trunk bracket and stuff. I all these, you'll see a lot of measuring tapes. I wanted to put it back as original as possible. You'll see I open the doors, see all the paint, how all the paint is done for the different colors for the interior. I tried to document all these pictures in my very first Charger video. Thanks for all the subscribers. Our #1 playlist is the 1969 Dodge Charger. Unfortunately, your 72 Challenger is a close second. But I said I wanted to document everything start to finish.
Frown face.
I think you weren't happy because you couldn't get a screw out or something like right there. But
well, your car is red on red.
Yeah, R4 is the color. You can see the inside of the doors. It's got a white interior, but it's got black along the bottom. So I think you see the passenger door here in these photos. I took pictures of those too. But I just wanted to kind of document everything and put it back as close as I can. Yes, it's going to be a resto mod, but pretty much the paint and all of that, I wanted to make it as original as I could with the modern upgrades. I'm putting a full QA1 suspension underneath it. It's going to have a 600 horsepower plus 440 in it. I put an overdrive in the 4-speed that I have for it, and it's got a posi already in it. It's a track pack car, so
and it is a 440 4-speed original car, which you have the data plate and of course original title, or not original, but you have a title and all that.
Yeah. So, I think that you'll see the next one. I even reproduced this picture coming up of the upper side of the underside of the roof. It had all that. I pulled the panels out of there, and that's that shark tooth around the rear window. I wanted to make sure to document how all that stuff went in, because all the headliner actually goes around those clips. That was painted on the underside of the roof. I don't know if it's...
Don't know what that is.
I think it looks like the Metallica leaning cross. So I repainted that on the underside after I resealed everything, which you'll see all the resealing. And what did I get? The platinum Eastwood stuff is all that I used.
So yeah, that was some nasty stuff.
And I threw away all the rubber door seals, which I thought that you could buy all of that reproduction stuff, and I've since read how the modern stuff doesn't work as well as the old. So I made quite a few mistakes trashing stuff as I ripped it out of there, just thinking the rubber parts are trash, but they say the rubber parts are the 50-year-old ones are better than the neoprene stuff that they're making it out of today. And here I think we begin deconstruction. I think we were starting, I think the dash is...
Oh, I'm working on the Mustang back over there now.
Oh, I missed you.
So it isn't too far before we get the lift in there.
Yeah, I think I was documenting. I think those are the front vent holes, and I think it has like a 10-inch speaker. I think I even show the dimensions of that. There's my VIN XS29L9B. And I think we start taking apart the dash, and it's going to go quick here.
We were hoping to find somewhere a build sheet, but never did.
Nowhere in the car, but it had a pistol grip, which I guess came out in 1970, the pistol grip shifter. I've since bought the little short console shift ball shifter that was factory in it, even though I like the pistol grip better. And kind of looked in, it had WAN, Juan, was etched into the wood of the pistol grip shifter. So Juan, if you're watching and you see this car and you recognize it and you have any more information about it, I want some documentation or some provenance of some sort that gives me some more insight. So these pictures are all of the dash. We just tilted it down, and I've just kind of documented just to see putting it back together. I don't know if I will use this wiring harness. I think you're kind of there with your Challenger right now, is putting the dash together, making sure all the wires are, and there's a lot of cut wires in this, so I just wanted to...
You'll buy a new one.
Yeah, probably.
Which I got a new rally one for the 72 Challenger.
But I don't know what I will use, because I'll put vintage air in. I probably won't use that heater box. So a lot of these pictures will be obsolete that I don't care about. This goes to there because that doesn't exist anymore. It's going to have modern, not QA1, vintage air. Yeah.
Vintage air.
So I think that this is kind of documenting under the dash there. I wanted some pictures of that because at the time I wasn't thinking vintage air, and then getting with Pops, he's the vintage air install king. So
I've done 3.
Yeah, you've done 3 now. Did you do Doug's too?
No,
No.
he didn't have vintage air.
Oh no.
He went classic air, I think.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
Same principle.
But every one of them that I've gotten, a good plug for vintage air, very good instructions, great wiring diagram of where everything goes. The terminals are already on everything.
Oh yeah, we
Everything
even did a
fit
video
great.
on the full vintage air install.
That's right.
I
Yeah,
think
it's on there.
we did one video or a couple.
But I did the
videos.
69 Mach 1 428 car. I did the 68 Shelby GT500 tribute car is vintage air, and then I've done the 72 Challenger.
Yeah, if you want to see those restorations, we will probably do a video similar to this for your 68 Shelby tribute. Because I think you have all of these pictures for that.
Yes.
And we might do one for the 69 Mach 1. If this video gets some views and people like it and people respond to it, then it took some effort to gather all these photos, put them all in chronological order, because for some reason it shows the date taken, but I couldn't sort by that, and I'm pretty computer savvy, but when I would rename, I'd put them all in order, I'd rename them, and then all the files would change back to their old names. It was something totally crazy that I don't understand, but I could not. I had to like manually go and put all these kind of in the order so it took forever to get. It doesn't seem like much, just a little picture show that we're watching, but it took quite a bit to put this together. So
you got your rear end out, and he's going with a complete triangulated 4-point disc brake setup from QA1.
Yeah, and I don't know if I need the Dana or if this is fine, because I know it's a track pack car. I think from seeing the numbers, the RTs with the 440s, I think track pack cars came with the Dana. So I think even though all that looked factory, that I think it's a 8 and 3 quarters. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All that looked factory, like it was all right in there, and it was a posi, and I just thought, oh, it's got the right rear end. I think it should be a Dana, but I don't know. So
yeah, we don't know the
viewers. Let me know that don't put your QA1 suspension onto that rear. If I need to get a Dana, then I can. I think that you can get them pretty much all done and rebuilt. What, like $2,000?
I don't know.
So another $2,000. But anyway, I was just documenting all of kind of how far. You'll see I kind of do a reverse tub on this because the wheel wells in this car kind of taper in to where you can only put a skinny tire in the back, and I wanted to put as much tread as I can under it.
Right, so he opened up the inner wheel housing in the back so you could put a bigger tire.
Yeah, and this is, you'll see some pretty crappy welding. I think I had a little Hobart welder and you had a Vulcan.
Yeah.
And I think that just starting to weld and seeing how welding videos do online, and my cousin Nick Taylor he welds kind of for MAK TV, but he does it for a living. Seeing how his stuff went, it was like our welders just aren't up to
there's
snuff,
where the buckles are, right above the shock towers.
Yeah, you could make out that buckle just above the shock tower. So that was another panel that it's like, even though it's all good metal right there, it looks pretty good. It wasn't going to be the car that I've always dreamt of my whole life. That Dad's got. Oh, I should have put a picture of me standing next to the General Lee as like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
But here's just kind of documenting all the front end, all those pieces. I thought that I didn't have that headlight piece because I've seen it in some cars, but it's attached to the grill that we put up in the rafters. So I'm sure there'll be a video that I'll do on that, restoring the grill. There's where that piece goes. See that little eyebrow piece at the bottom? I powder coated that black, so there's some pieces that I've done and cleaned up already, but I didn't know where that went until looking at this picture. So it was kind of neat. I've only taken these photos and dumped them on the computer. I've never actually really looked at them because all I've done is body work. I haven't started to put anything back together.
It's still just an empty shell right now that the body work's done. Mm-hmm. Getting ready to seal it and paint it. As soon as you get the QA rear end pieces, you're going to weld them, and then you'll be able to final sand and then seal it and then paint it. Yeah, it's getting torn down.
Yeah, it only gets better, and I think that is kind of what we started with the YouTube channel. You got something to say there?
Oh, I was just going to say, but you'd have to point it out in the picture that that was a buckle.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I may go back through in editing and put in some of the things that we're talking about. Yeah, you could
circle it,
but it's also an hour-and-a-half video that people are watching,
right?
And I'm not going to watch this 36 times to point out every single thing, but I may do some of that editing after.
There, your K members out of it now.
Yeah, K members out. No lift. So we got scaffolding. That is kind of what you did with your 68 tribute, and those fenders look pretty darn good there. But you'll see some later pictures that people have had their hands all over them and beat them up and fixed them and not fixed them right. So before you had your lift, I think your 68 goes through a whole cycle of life on scaffolding.
On the scaffold.
Yeah, there's
just like that. And I could spin it around. They're on wheels. I had 2 sets.
Yeah, that was just the 2 of the pump-up tables with a piece of steel across the whole.
And you get all the metal off of it. And now yours is heavier, but I mean, you could get a couple guys on each side and you can lift that thing. At least you can do the Mustang for sure. But if you got the Charger completely stripped with everything out of it, you can lift it up, slide the table under it, and then lift the back up and slide a scaffold under it.
I think when it was down to its bare bones with the quarters off and all that, it was
easy,
pretty darn light. But I mean, you start throwing those quarters, they're not light. Yeah,
but then we built a couple rotisseries. And once
did we build our first rotisserie for this car?
I think we did.
I think you had borrowed a buddy's Terry.
That's what I did. I borrowed a buddy's for mine.
For the Mustang, and then I think we copied his design and built 3?
And put
2 or 3?
Just 2.
Just 2, but we got enough to build another one. So.
Yeah, there it is, that blue.
So if you want a rotisserie like that built, it does Mopars, it does Mustangs, it does it all. And I thought it was weird because I saw these pictures and I was like, no, because it goes back on the scaffolding after this.
Yeah,
and I thought
we rolled it out and had it stripped.
I think see, there's the pictures of the roof where it's white.
Yeah,
and I'm like, why does it look like that when all that paint is just caked and caked and caked on there? It's got red and orange paint caked everywhere.
I know,
and yet the roof's white. So I don't know if they painted the roof white to throw a sticker over the top of it, and that's how they did the general release.
I don't know.
But that just I can't explain why that is the way it is.
And maybe somebody that was associated with the show or says, no, that isn't a Duke car at all. We didn't ever do anything like that. And that's fine, but somebody did it because I think somebody jumped it or played in their backyard and did a backyard jump, and maybe that's why they quit driving it, because they messed the front end up.
I'd love to know if you can tell by how passionate we are about the cars. I'd love to know more about it, just to those unsolved mysteries that I'll never
close
know.
That book.
Yeah. And another shout out to Geek and Son. They're kind of a buddy through Facebook, a buddy through YouTube channels, but he's doing a 69 that he's actually making a Duke car out of it, and he put our logo up on his, and I've gotten a couple subscribers I think that have migrated from him, so thank you to him. Hopefully some of these pictures might help you. I don't know what condition you bought your car in, but this is kind of a breakdown with everything, I would say, pretty much unmolested. There wasn't a whole lot of like hacks or anything, aside from like the quarter being repaired and the rear tail.
Right. Had all the original components.
I think so. So this is kind of a nut and bolt where they sit from the factory, I think, but I don't know enough about it to know.
Yeah, you had the original 4-speed, the little bump out there, and all the pedals. All that's original.
Oh, here's my 2 favorite pictures coming up. That one. I don't know who took these. I mean, I'm guessing you did.
Probably did.
But it's kind of a wide zoom shot.
Yeah, there's your old Hobart.
I had never seen those pictures until you gave me them.
Yeah,
I was like, what a cool
up
photo of the whole garage, basically. A few of those were like that. And
yeah, that's on the pump-up table there, just cutting the quarter off.
That, I think, I don't know if you had the plasma or if you bought the plasma to cut all that off. Did you already have one?
I think I already had one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it made quick work. It's funny that I did all of this before seeing today's date is what, the 12th of September?
Yep.
2021. And just last week, we had just watched them cutting the quarters off of, it was a Charger too, wasn't it? A 68 Charger that they were doing?
I think it was.
And it's like, man, I did the exact same thing as stay off of the seams and cut all of the garbage away. So I did it all before I actually saw it on TV, which most of the time it's the other way around, that I'll get inspiration from Meekum or from Graveyard Cars or Ken Diggett's Bitchin' Rides.
And I know the little nipper, the little air shears work really well because they don't put out, the heat. But I'll tell you, the plasma cutter.
Yeah, I see a lot of shows doing the nippers and stuff like that. And yeah, there's no heat, there's no spark, but there's something to be said for a torch just running around that plasma. It just eats through. But like around the roof rails, I did burn into it a little bit because I went across, but I tried to stay off of it a little bit to where I wasn't burning too much.
Right.
And you'll see some of those repairs coming up. So this is you. There's you sparking the last thing of that trunk latch there. I believe you're cutting it off.
Yeah, and I did that on the 69. I plasmed all off and get most of it, and then with the rivets, where you can drill them out or grind the tops off, and then use a chisel and go along the frame rail tops, and then of course grind and clean that all up so it's just bare frame rails.
I don't think I've got a whole lot of photos of that. Not that I noticed putting it together, but that is kind of like that right there. You can see it peeled up. As the back of the frame rail moves forward, you can see it's all peeled up metal. Yep. That is where I would use an air chisel or the little Eastwood hand tool, chivel, body panel removal tools. And just, I would drill a little bit of it with the drills and then smack and peel and just peel the rest of that remaining metal up.
Yep.
Yeah, these are trunk gutters. I think we measured, put some marks down here and there, and then the trunk gutters actually came off.
Yeah, they got cut off. Cut the Dutchman panel out.
Yeah, Dutchman was okay on the top, but I mean, the whole bottom side of that Dutchman was just all trash. So there's another shot of. I think I've probably got 3 or 4 different times I took photos of that because another thing that it's an unsolved mystery to me is why would somebody put that up under the headliner in the car? Was it done on the factory? Did somebody do that building it? I wish I knew some of those answers. And you can see the inner fenders were pretty decent, and I pretty much hacked the hell out of those.
Making them wider. And that floor, you didn't replace that section there.
Not the back, no.
No, because that was all just solid as it could be.
Yeah, same with the firewall.
Yeah.
There's tons of holes there, but all those holes are for
all
something.
That, the front pillar there, that was all just excellent condition.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad, but the frame rail, the shock tower, all that I ended up replacing. And that whole tail panel as well.
It's all brass.
Yeah, there were a lot of brass welds in it, and just, it was not...
And you can't even tell what kind of car it is.
No, it's pretty much, the whole back end is gone now. I think there'll be some pictures of the tabs that stick out. I think you can see they're gone in that photo right there. I end up cutting and fashioning some metal and extending those tabs out to where the rear, I don't know, what do you call the vertical bar that goes across both the back of the
I don't know.
frame rails. The frame rail end, the frame rail cap, I don't know what it's called, but
there's the little roll around frame thing that we bought.
That we cleaned everything up, and then I think I did this when you were gone one day.
Yeah, we strapped. I think you strapped that to that so it wouldn't tip or fall off, and we could roll it everywhere.
Yep, and this was the lightest that it ever was, I believe.
Yeah.
That you can see it's folded back. That was me trying to burn through and cut, and that's how thick the Bondo was. It was 1/2 inch to 1 inch, all in that rocker section there. That it was just like, golly, I didn't even know that was so bad. This I think is just documenting where all the pieces are
for the window crank in the back.
Yep. I think this is at Jerry's.
That's
again.
At Jerry's. Well, there's some cars going to the dirt.
They are disappearing out there.
Yeah.
But a couple of his cars.
There's the guy doing the sandblasting.
This is sandblasting.
Yeah. And we knew that he didn't need to sandblast everything because we cut the bad out. So all he had to do was sandblast what was left that was good.
I think that the floor is still in it at this point, and the front inner fender aprons are still on. And while he was doing it, I just told him, don't worry about doing those pieces. But he did all the underside of my roof, did the top of the roof, and all, I mean, anywhere and everywhere except for that. Firewall too. Yeah, he did that.
But he did that. Down to bare metal.
The whole floor.
And then he used that Osphate, or what is it called?
Osphate, I believe.
Osphate to preserve it so it won't. I mean,
when
he'd get done and go on the other side, it was starting to rust already outside.
Yeah, definitely it was. It was.
We've got a chain on the mower that's holding that from rolling down the hill.
That was a scary day.
Yeah, it was. But we had probably 2 to 3 sets of fenders we'd picked up at swap meets and some doors, and we went ahead and brought those outside, and he stripped those as well. And then he stripped your trunk deck and your hood.
I had 2 trunk decks that I didn't use.
And we ended up using either one of them. We didn't use any of the fenders or doors.
I didn't use my hood either. I still have the hood if anybody needs a 69 Charger hood. Or
yeah, it's pretty rust free.
Do I still have both of the trunk decks?
I don't know, but
I think I know I have at least one, but I probably have 2 trunk decks still, because I think we had gotten the fenders on or quarters on, and then it's like, man, you put that door up there, and you'll see some of those photos here, and it's just like, man, it just does not look right.
Yeah,
a perfect pristine panel, which they're not perfect and pristine. They still needed to be worked a ton, but. You get the idea. Yeah, look at that rust bucket now. I mean, just instantly it was already rusty, and he gave us a gallon of this. I think it's Osphate is what it is.
Yeah, there's the actual hood.
Yeah, but that hood, I don't think any picture you're going to be able to see how caved in it was, just because I put wood slats across, like to make a shelf to store stuff on top of it, and it's like, man, I did that on the roof. I did it on the hood, and I mean, you could just see the indentations of like 1x6s and 1x4s that I laid across it, thinking I was saving my body panels, and all I did was destroy them.
A little tidbit information: if you have somebody come out like this guy did with his trailer, and it's supposed to be dustless, if you can do it out in the yard, and of course in Florida it's all sand, and a lot of that was sand. When he left, it was all on the driveway. There it is.
Yeah, you didn't know I had that photo in there, did you?
Yeah, you had to spray. I mean, it took 2 hours to try to spray that sand down because we needed a fire hose, and we was shoveling it when it would build up. But if you did it over the ground, it'd just go into the ground.
Yeah, in Florida, the sand, it would have been fine. But on the driveway, it was like...
Oh, it was a mess.
The worst sludge to push and clean all that off.
Wet sand, like from the beach, and he just couldn't spray it.
Yeah, it wouldn't go.
So, but yeah, there it is, just completely
I think this
stripped.
Is just after it's been OSFO'd, and I thought that the OSFO was going to keep it gray, and it did not.
Yeah, it didn't.
It's still... like fogged over with what would you call it, a sandy, gritty, just, it was not cool. And so I took OSFO and a rag and almost polished every panel, every piece of metal that was still there, which you'll see it. I think I've got a couple photos of what I was doing on the roof to get all that garbage off. It just, I would say take it and have it dipped if I could have if I could take it back, because I think I spent $1,600 to have.
No, I think it was only about 8 or 12.
No, that was 16 because we kept him a couple more hours.
To do all the extra fenders
and all that.
Yeah, there's your brown.
And I tipped him and stuff like that too. But
you're doing your wiping.
Yeah, there's the OSFO. I think I mixed it 50-50. And that there on the left is all of the garbage.
Oh, it was terrible.
After we cleaned it all off. I mean, I had to work to clean that metal with that OSFO. And then all of the panels that weren't going to be seen, that's what I used that platinum stuff from, from Eastwood.
Yeah. And that was a mess. That stuff drips on the concrete and dries. You got to have a chisel to get it off. I'm telling you,
it's awesome stuff if you get it on. I think
have a drop cloth underneath wherever you're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thick, like really thick paint. And he was just using a brush and brushing, but you brush across a hole and it drips out. And
yeah, there's the underside of the roof after.
After you put the stuff on.
After I clean it all, and then after all of the platinum stuff. So if you see the car and it looks gray, that's not just bare metal. All that interior stuff. I think I did my shifter. What do you call the floor shifter?
The hump? Or
the hump.
whatever you call that.
That piece, I think I painted it all, but then it all had to come out, and I had to kind of revisit it because it was rusted out at the bottom.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff, it's like the metal. Yes, it maybe to be the perfect car, but it's going to be my car. I didn't want to spend $200 some odd for that stupid shifter thing when all it was rusted a little bit at the bottom. So I just grafted in some metal. You'll see on both my inner fenders, there's a bunch of photos. Oh, there's your Mustang.
Yeah.
I must have skipped that one and forgot it. This was the only spot on it, and this is some of my very first welds, so I can hear you all laughing from here. Ground it down, and it just seemed like, I don't know if the gas wasn't right or the welder wasn't powerful enough, or just even putting a solid bead, I'd try to step it across.
Yeah, there's your piece you cut out.
Yeah, there's that in the front. And these are my heads. If anybody knows what kind of heads these are, I got them from a speed shop that was going to do my motor. He was going to build it, and then it was a year and a half later, and he never did anything with it. He just had the parts bought. But this kind of shows the parts at his shop. He did, I think he dipped the block and did the Magno whatever. I don't know.
Magnaflux.
Yeah. He's showing the 6-pack rods are thicker. So he bought the 6-pack rods for it, which those are expensive. It's 30 over. I don't know what kind of pistons. I don't know. So if anybody has that information, he took my normal crank, balanced it, but I don't know what kind of pistons those are. That's my crank that I think he did some work on.
Yeah.
I don't know why my VIN's back in there again, but it's back in there. That may be a different photo of it. Oh, because I think I took a photo of it and a photo of the front radiator support up there. Those numbers match, and then I don't know if I document. Yeah, just showing that's on the car. I think when I gave my motor out, I was kind of leery. I documented everything, so I knew when I got it back, it was all my stuff. This is the inner fender after I've ground it all, and that's what I was saying about the cheaper welder. Is it just ended up with tons of holes, and I don't know if that's because I was a terrible welder. I'm marked out, and there's kind of my inner fender, inner quarter.
Yeah, he's bumping it out.
That is just a piece of metal that I've kind of tacked on the bottom, or terribly, but made that whole inner area a giant hump for I think it's 18 inches or something in there, so it's 16 or 18 inches across. That I don't know if you'll see on, I think there's a photo of the right side and the left. After I do that, you'll see the left side caves way in right from the left. Yeah, see how that from the outer wheel, it just kind of caves in. I didn't want 175, 75, 15 or 14 tire to go up in there. I wanted a monster tire.
And I think we would fit the quarter up there each time to make sure that they would still fit with that inner fender being on it.
Because I saw that photo in the sequence.
That's why we kept putting the quarter up to make sure
that I had clearance.
And it did. It kind of goes straight up before it turns, and you had plenty of room under there.
I think these welds with your welder is what convinced me that after all the welding, it just didn't perform like I thought a welder should, and this is the start of hacking in the left side.
Right.
And that's, I think there's some pictures of the Miller that I bought.
Yeah, there's where you cut it all out, and then you started building out.
Yeah, I was trying to make it with one piece and do all that. We don't have an English wheel. We don't have any of that. And I was like...
He was using the pounding sand pillow.
Pounding each piece out, yeah.
Yeah, pounding it to make it rounded. I mean, it turned out okay for being able to crudely do it like that.
Yeah, I think that's all seam seal. I just seam sealed everything after I ground everything down. And it's okay. It's what I want. But I think I will probably move the left side of that inner fender into the frame rail, so it'll have a mini tub on it. That'll be at a later date in 5 years when I see, and I got to put my QA1 suspension to the limits.
Yeah.
That's just up inside, just seeing how it goes, and then
starting on trunk floor.
I think this was fitting the trunk up in there, trunk floor, and then I think I ended up buying gutters for it because I wasn't pleased with how the gutters looked. And this is, I don't know if we've said this, all of this was probably from 2018. And when did we start the videos? During COVID. So
yeah,
so this was probably, oh, there's your Vulcan. That's the one
right.
that it does okay, but would you say it's night and day, the Miller from that Vulcan?
Oh yeah, the Miller just is more consistent. It's nice.
There's those tabs. That's what I was talking about, how the trunk floor kind of comes out to that, and then also the rear frame rail extension. I don't know if that's what it's called,
yeah.
Or the frame rail back or stop or tail.
And all that metal on yours was good metal.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
We didn't have to replace any of that.
Oh, none of the frame rails, no. This is kind of, we
Weld through primer
and ground off. You can see the holes along this left side here for the drop down. And then with all that weld through primer,
plug welded all
on the bottom and the top, we put that weld through primer and just plug the hell out of it.
Yeah.
This is probably
about every 2 inches.
These pictures are probably over, I bet you it took me 2-3 weeks, would you say?
Oh, probably. Yeah,
working when I could get out here and do it. There's the piece that kind of, what I was talking about, that black bar at the back. And there's the new frame, or the new trunk gutter that I bought for it.
Yeah, that's the old one in there. And I think you salvaged and stitched in your original numbers.
Yes, sir.
That's on
I believe there's a photo of me attempting,
because there's also the VIN number on that gutter rail.
Yep, that's the third place I found the number. And if you look at this tail, that's what all the metal looked like after blasting it. It was there, but it wasn't pristine. Everything would have needed a coat of Bondo to slick it back to where it looked like metal again. It just was so porous,
yeah.
And it's like with the rest of the car looking the way it does, it merits doing a better job. And so pretty much everything but the roof on this car, would you say, is brand new, and the frame rails?
Well, your back.
Oh, I guess the front firewall and all that, but
and the rockers and
the driver's side rocker is all original, but I had to put some patches in it. You'll
Yeah.
see some of the patches coming up here.
And your over the hump rear shock support areas.
True,
That's all original.
I guess it could have been worse.
Oh yeah, it could have been my Mustang.
Yeah,
Which it was only a roof and the door frames is all that was original. All my frame rails were bad.
Yeah. This, I think, was just documenting, I think, where some of those bolts, how that actually looked before I tore out this right, because basically all that comes off, and I put the new, was it the B-pillar? Yeah, I put the new B-pillar in on the right side of it, because it was hit on the right side. So just documenting how everything looked, angles, in case I need to do it. And I think I probably referenced these on my phone as I was putting in the new panel, and I left the driver's side in. That's another reason why I left the floor in, is as I was doing all this, I wanted at least some structure to stay, which maybe I should have put and welded a bar across the doors, that door opening, to keep some of the, but the roof was there.
All right.
So I thought it's pretty much it's not moving. And then I replaced one side of the floor and did the other. And this you can kind of see the rocker repair. I just basically peeled all that metal off with Bondo all caked in it. And there's the B-pillar is being deconstructed. Oh, Doug made an appearance in the video here.
Yeah.
The whole B-pillar's gone. And then I think we're fitting up the quarter to maybe, new B-pillar is in there. Nothing's welded. And you'll see a lot of mock-up pictures here that basically, I think I weld that solid, and then we start fitting up to it, and then it's a long time before I get all of the quarters.
You put it on, take it off, a dozen times to make sure all your alignment and fitment's
That's
good.
the rocker after I cut the rocker off. That's the inside. The inside of the rocker was fine. It just was smashed on the outside, and the little piece that drops down and is supporting inside the rocker, that needed to be ripped out as well. So I replaced all that. So, and then I used the tool and went through a pair of gloves doing this, but stripped all that lower pinch weld all off and got that all cleaned up to where it was just the inner rocker there. And then I put the new rocker in, and you'll see a later picture of the gap that I made. It's like, man, you have to know so much to attempt this stuff, because I put the rocker on and I welded it too close at the very front where it lines up to the fender. Oh, there's a little clamp rack that we welded together for all the clamps. You need to have at least 100 clamps, would you say, to do these cars as well?
Pushing that amount.
So that's kind of looking at the driver's side, which was all factory, and then looking back on the passenger, and I just used it as a gauge to set that B pillar exactly where it needed to be. That's the driver's side. I actually, the driver's side rocker at the back had 2 little rust holes, so I cut a big box out and then did my best to butt weld all that in, and you can see I'm still using the crappy welder, and disappointed. Oh, there's my little graft attempt to put the numbers in the driver's side gutter at the back.
Yeah.
And then there the rocker is in. You can see the welds along the pinch at the top and the pinch at the bottom. And then there, I think I either fixed that or that was the start of cutting that out, because it was all rusty and nasty looking. And we needed to clean out 60 years or 50 years of rat's nest. I mean,
oh yeah,
I bet you I could have filled a 55-gallon drum with all the crap that came out of both those rockers. We were spraying and spraying water through it, and we just couldn't get all the hair.
Clumps and clumps of insulation coming out of there.
Oh yeah, here's the rear window. You can see I've got a new piece at the bottom right there, but you can see it's cancerous there. That where the shark little thing for the headliner mounts, it was all kind of bad and corroded. I had to rebuild that, and that's the thing, is you can buy all these parts and you can piece them together and make it work without spending $300. It's like the console thing. I made it myself, the console mounts, because I think it was like $90-some for 2 pieces of bent metal. It's like I can bend metal and I can screw my console into it. Who cares? So there's some things that I made, some concessions, and you can see the store. Look at all the ripples up at the top left. I mean, by the door handle, in the middle of the door, it's like it. When we start to get it together, that's at the point where it's like, man, I'm buying new doors. I'm doing that, and that's kind of the next step, and you'll see some new doors here before long, I believe. And then I'm just kind of mocking in, and I had measured all the rear window. I even set the rear window in there to make sure that it was going to seal around that whole new frame. I put the new back bottom piece in it, and look at all that lead at the top of that. That's from the roof coming back. I mean, it had over a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of lead. It's like they had to sculpt that stuff at the factory to let all that in, and I couldn't weld to it because you can't weld to lead. Yeah. So you have to get rid of all that. Look at that upper corner of that. All that lead has to come out down to the bare metal before you can actually get the new panel slid in there and weld it all in. So yeah, I think that's a door here on just showing. I think we took stock of the doors, and it's like all of the doors, they were all pretty decent, which Brian with Brian's Mopar parts up in Sharpsburg, Georgia. He ended up with all my doors. I traded him my doors. I think I ended up either giving or trading him my fenders as well, in case somebody could use them. He said he'll give them away or sell them to somebody. But all of the doors were okay, but they all, maybe I'm just not the experienced body guy and didn't want to do them. That trunk deck's pretty decent, but it's been, both of my trunk decks were smacked in the back end and had dents in them. So yeah, this is the quarter and all that black electroplating that they come with the product that I think is in the next slide. No, not this one, but
that's where you're trying to strip it off.
You can scan the screen with your phone, so take a picture with your phone and you can see what product we used. But all that that stuff almost, you painted that on, and then it almost just slid all off. There's what we used. It's some aircraft paint remover. So all that came off pretty good. Cleaned them all up, and then
that's an etching primer.
Yep, that is the most toxic stuff I think I've ever sprayed through a gun. You can see Pops rarely uses a mask, and he's got one on today.
Oh yeah, you have a mask for just about anything they're spraying.
I think maybe not primer all the time, but we probably should.
Especially if you got doors open and ventilation.
Yeah, but everything's getting the etching primer, and so
anything that's bare metal.
And that was kind of my gauge when I put 600 coats of primer on it, trying to do the best body work I can, is when I would hit green. I think we did a couple coats of this stuff on the whole thing, but when I would get down and I would see green through a black and a gray and a black and a gray layer of primer, it's like, of primer, and I'd see green, it's like, no, I'm stopping here. I didn't want to burn through to bare metal. You can't help it.
Then he color coded the back sides, because once they go on the car, he wanted them to all be painted.
Yep. So painted, cleared, and they looked really nice.
Yeah.
But all those places down in that rocker area down there, I knew I'd never be able to get and seal.
And you bought the Eastwood with the long 3-foot tube you stick up in the rocker, and it sprays out 4 directions, and you pull it through, and you completely coat with like an undercoating all inside those areas. Yep. And a couple of them I think you sprayed before you put the outer rocker on.
Yeah, I did the platinum stuff inside the whole rear. Any place I could paint all that stuff on, I did. There's front and rear valance. That's my original tail. I thought I was still going to use it there. And basically anything that I could paint, again, I threw that etching primer.
That's our charging station that you built out of some shelves for the Milwaukee stuff.
Copper weld through primer.
Weld through primer that we use from Eastwood.
And then that's the original tail, and I think we get it set up there and try to mock it in. Neither one of us were happy with that.
Yeah, you ended up buying a new tail, didn't you?
Yep.
And that went to Brian as well.
So backsides of everything I wanted painted, and probably when I do go to paint what I can see, I will actually scuff.
Oh, there's your welding cart that he built.
I bought the welder, built that cart, so it would house the welder and all the spooler, the TIG, all that good stuff. My little welding cart from Harbor Freight didn't cut the mustard, so I had to build.
And we've got the plasma cutter on that as well.
This was a vintage sticker that I had that ingrained in my mind, I guess, since the 80s. You showing me that picture, that's always been something, so I'll recreate that with the Cricket and make sure that gets back on the car. But this is a shot of all the fenders. I think the next one, is you can really see how beat up it is at the front. Maybe not this one, but it just wasn't the caliber of fender that I want. Look at the
you're going to
dents at the bottom, dents at the top.
A week trying to work it.
Yeah. If you make money and you can do it, afford the Amd panels. They're pretty darn nice. And
but somebody wanting original, those could be, completely fixed up.
I have to ask Brian and see if he gave them away to anybody.
Yeah, there's your ripples.
Yeah, there's all somebody's screwed in, welded, pulled dents. They needed some help.
Oh yeah.
So sorry, whoever ended up with them. But they are original. This is just kind of documenting how that's the rear bumper, the bumper bracket that's on there. That's powder coated black already. That's the license plate light, how it was on there. So these are all kind of documenting pictures with the front valance, how all that goes together, and then we tore all that apart. And I think the front bumper brackets there, I've powder coated all those black, just the flat Harbor Freight black.
And we got a video on our powder coating cabinet. It's a big old locker. And those are just some of the stuff. Those are some of the things that we have powder coated. I
think this is the bell housing. I had a giant crack in the bell housing. You can see it there around a half moon on the upper right. Had a guy that I was either going to buy a new bell housing from him, but he's like, I got a guy that I forget what he called
aluminum welder.
Something weld.
Spooler?
No. It's a sticky weld or a tacky weld or something. but it
there you go.
welds that cast iron back together. So
There he's putting his that heat shield stuff around that tire.
I missed it. I was looking your direction.
There it is. It's the shiny foil stuff.
Oh yeah, I ended up doing another little welding inside and caught that stuff on fire. So don't put all your heat tape when you still have some welding to do. But yeah, it's starting to take a little shape here. I don't think the gutters are in. Dutchman's not in. Nope, none of that is. But I think this is just kind of the first.
This is where we're trying to get it up to where we could put a rotisserie on it, because we don't have the big beam across the back to support the weight. And then, of course, the front we could, but we had to get the back done. So that's why it was always just propped up until we got that trunk sturdy enough to take the rotisserie.
Yep, Dutchman was in and kind of fitting.
Yep, fitting
seeing
the trunk.
How the gaps go, and I would say wouldn't you say I've got paint stick gaps all the way around everywhere on the car now?
Yep.
It's really close to getting super nice. I'm a little more meticulous than I think Pops is. It would have been painted 2 years ago if it were up to you. Mm-hmm. These are a couple little holes in the A-pillar. You can see that little tan box. That's a new piece of metal that I was grafting in there. And then the front edge of the roof, all that was fine, but the lower edge trough of that whole front windshield and the top whole edge of the rear windshield, I ended up
loaded with pinholes and stuff.
Oh man, they were bad. The top not so bad of the front windshield, but that bottom was just riddled. And then the top of the rear, of course, the whole rear window back was gone, so that was all new. But I ended up from Jerry and Starke. This is the lower transmission, the bell housing bottom. That was a piece. You'll see it once it's painted orange, I think, in the upcoming picture here. The right ears were all gone off of it, so I welded in a piece of metal and put some new ears on it. So another one of those things that it's like this.
That's your bell housing back.
Yeah, that's back fixed. And then you can see the bottom there. That's where I grafted a little piece of metal to where I could actually get a bolt and it would hold it on there. So all that gets painted Hemi orange. Got my transmission done and back, and I think that's just cast aluminum paint that I just painted, but it covered all my nuts and bolts, so everything looks like a nut and bolt type of restoration. I think that's just numbers that are on the 4-speed for it. I haven't decoded anything, so if you know what it is exactly, let me know. Before, I wanted to make sure there was some paint on the underside of the hinges, because they were kind of crusty when we pulled all that off, and they ended up being pretty nice, so I wanted at least a layer of paint, because they won't get paint when I go to paint the car. They will get painted, but they won't get paint underneath. And I think these are new fenders.
Yeah, just getting the gaps right,
and
making
I think
sure the doors on there.
These are the first pictures of new doors too.
Yeah, getting those doors fit on there right.
Yeah,
we had to work them a little bit
and I don't think anything's welded at this point. With the whole quarter and everything, I think they are all just jigsaw puzzled in together. I don't think it's welded yet, because I think some that's still. Oh, that might be the new door all sanded down. Yeah, I think that's the new door all sanded down. And we etched that as well. Yeah, see, nothing's welded yet. It's just still. Yeah, we ground off all the paint, and then I did the copper weld through primer on those as well, where it was going to all be welded up. So yeah, everything's still clecoed together or clamped here and there. I can't see any clecos there but now I think we're starting to weld, and I have the good miller and making sure everything is going in right. Once we had the whole puzzle together and could see.
There's your welded quarter.
Oh, yep, starting to weld up. And still all loosey-goosey in the back, and that was the point of getting the trunk deck, getting the Dutchman in there, making sure all those pieces are going to be right. Oh, there's your 68 not done yet. Just you're probably buffing and stuff on there. There's the original heads that came with that motor.
They're gone.
Yeah, I gave those away. If you watched the national show, a guy told me they were worth like $30. And the guy that we gave him to, he said he'd give $30 or $40, and then we said, okay, I'll take 30, and he didn't. He didn't give him. I said,
How about
you
free?
have to take them then, if you won't give me $30. So before we welded, put the trunk in there again, made sure gaps were looking great, and got it all where it should be, and then that has to be a new tail.
Oh, we got the lift.
Oh yeah, not bend pack, but was it rotary? Is that what it is? So I think waiting to get, I think it took, I don't know, a while to get the tail panel, and then started welding up, and I wasn't sure if I should just stitch weld that, and I think just welding all the way down ended up working out to be the best. So once all that's starting to come together, we decided to dismantle the front end, and I had new Fender aprons for this. So all that still looks really crappy because
He didn't have it blasted.
yeah, he didn't blast any of that, so you can kind of see the transition from bare metal there. That's not clean, not OSFO'd, because I knew I was going to be welding everything. And then we kind of dissect and pull those out. We left the front radiator support and all the back panels, all that was fine. But since those panels were crushed, we decided to cut those out of there and got some new panels welded. So
There's your buckle.
oh yeah, that's a good shot of how buckled it was on top of that. And I think the shock towers weren't rusted. They were fine,
But you just took it all off.
it's like at this point, put all new. So frame rails look. I think there was a little spot under one of the frame rails that had a little bit of a crack or a little bit of
buckle,
something.
yeah.
That I cut that out and put a patch in on the frame. It may have been right there. That was
there you go.
under the shock tower that I ended up fixing. But it's metal. I mean, you weld in metal, grind it down to where you can't even tell that anybody was there. And that wasn't a skill I had at the start of this, but it is a skill that I have now. I'm not the best at it. I don't necessarily like doing it because it is a lot of work to,
Oh, yeah.
like the bitching rides guys that they weld and they grind it off. They do all that customization. You can't even tell anyone was there, and it looks factory. Even
They were taking all the measurements to know how to put the new ones
oh
back.
yeah, shock tower to shock tower to see before it comes out. That might have been a little out of order,
Yeah, I think it was.
but yeah, we measured to make sure that I can fit my 440 in between it, and we welded it all up. And we haven't mocked in the motor to see. I'm hopeful I don't have to throw a 318 down in it.
No, it'll fit.
We need a shock tower spreader.
All right. No, because we didn't take out the core or the radiator core,
yeah,
so
true.
your frame rails didn't change,
Yeah, that's true. That
and
is
it
correct.
fit like a glove wrapped around. And
Sorry, I
welded.
got lost in thought worrying about my motor going up in there.
Yeah.
Once it's all said and done. You can see the lines there. I stitch weld, if that's what that called, but I had spot welded everything in, but I also put like 1 inch, 2 inch stitches in a lot of the places. I mean, I've heard creaks and pops in other cars, old cars riding in them, and I wanted it to be one solid car.
Right.
And so I
Well, that's your frame rail extension. He has those as well. Have you welded those in yet? No.
Oh, I didn't. I'm not gonna weld them. I bolted them in,
Right.
and then I
There
think
they are bolted in.
yeah. Before I pulled the floor out, I put those frame rail extenders, just as an added thing.
Right.
So, can you stop crunching ice in the microphone?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, put those in so you can see none of that's been blasted. And then before I did some work, I wanted to make sure that was supported, and then we started cutting the floor out. You can see how bad the floor is. And I didn't think that the car was that bad. Maybe it wasn't when I got it 20-some years ago, but
Right.
definitely needed some attention. I think that is the start of grinding and cleaning up the insides of those wheel wells where I did the trunk extensions.
And there it just shows having a rotisserie. You can turn that upside down on its side. You can grind. You're not underneath a car or jacked up laying on your back. You stand there. I mean, it's if you're going to do this type of restoration where you're really stripping it down, having a rotisserie is, as probably many of you know, it's the best thing.
They're not hard to build. They're schematics online.
They're not that expensive. To go buy like $1,200, you can buy a decent one.
Yeah, true.
But, you know, you got to be needing to do 2 or 3 cars to really make it worth your while. But
yeah, I would not want to do any of this work underneath the car.
No.
I think that was my first TIG welding experience, just trying to weld the end of that rocker, and I have not mastered TIG welding yet. I think a lot of those photos are just documenting just to see where some of the clips are that I've since taken out, like those rubbers, how's it mounted, how's it look in there, just as when I go to put it back in, where's all that stuff go? So
right.
And yeah, frame rail extenders are both in, and then I think we start tearing it. It might not even be many pictures of it. I think it's just the absence of metal in there, and then oh, this must be when I got my motor back. These were the parts and pieces that I got for 2 years worth of it being at a speed shop, and nothing ended up being done on it, so I built my motor myself.
Yeah,
it was kind of a point of pride thing that I think
yeah.
It's going to be cool that we use all good stuff, and I don't know enough about it. I'll probably ask Nick Taylor a bunch about it just to say, okay, what should I be throwing in this? And he might look at some of this and go, oh, you've got the wrong thing in. So I might do something different to the motor.
Mm-hmm.
If some of this stuff that ended up in it isn't good quality stuff. I think it all is.
Oh yeah, probably is.
My race, I think that is, it says neutral balance. I think that might be the front balancer. I don't know. But I used all the stuff that the guy bought for me that he said he was
timing set. Yep.
6-pack hydraulic lift. I believe that's the cam. I don't know what those numbers mean. I think it's lift and all that good stuff, but it's a thumper cam that's in it. And that's it. I think that's pretty much cleaned up. Okay, we must be doing 2 things at once here. So there's looking down from the passenger side, and you can just see the frame rail extender at the bottom, and there's the new panel. That all gets stripped, and then that's all the weld through primer. Drill a bunch of holes in those lines. I think we traced it all out, pulled it, then stripped all the paint, put weld through primer, drilled all the holes in it. There's the block numbers.
Hey, back to the motor.
I see, yeah, back to the motor, and that's something. And there's the shifter. Oh, this is the front cowl, and that is the piece that I got from Jerry from one of his cars, and that's it going in and welded, and my best attempt at butt welding and splicing in.
It turned out good.
Oh yeah, it looks really good now. And then I think that is the front window frame that I've put that piece stitched all on. I think there's another picture of it. And these are a lot of photos of the factory suspension that was on it. And
not going to use it.
Not going to use any of this. QA1's going to replace all of this. Torsion bars.
So all that's for sale.
K-frame, K-member.
Now you did take the K-member and powder coat it white.
Oh yeah, it might.
So it's like new.
I think there's a photo of it coming up too. So.
But all that stuff is going to be for sale.
Yep.
Including the steering, and are you going to put rack and pinion steering on it? Or wait a minute,
it comes with QA1. Yeah.
Yeah, so you won't use steering box or any of that stuff.
No, sir. But I thought I was going to use all this, so before taking it all apart, blasting it all, powder coating everything, and putting it all back together, I wanted as many detailed pictures. So if you're watching and you wanted to see something, I didn't do anything to this yet. It just was jerked out of the car and starting to clean it up. So I did clean all the K-member, so all that's off of it now.
Right.
It's just spindles and upper control arms and stuff like that, lower control arms. But yeah, I think cleaned up the K-member. I liked it white, but I'm gonna like looking under there and seeing the QA1 stuff a whole lot better than a powder coated K-member that weighs, what would you say that thing weighs? 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter. Plus, you got the torsion bars.
Yeah, those are 20 pounds a piece, probably at least.
Yeah, you don't use those on the QA1.
I have a super lightweight Dodge Charger.
Be pulling wheelies.
Did you see Nick pulling that giant wheelie? His hood flew off. That's crazy. Yeah, so we did all this out in the yard just to keep all the dirt and muck and stuff out of it. But right now it's sitting underneath. It's protected from the weather. So they're all pretty decent. Those, I think we've got a set that came off of the Challenger that is all new. And then we've got my used set that looks pretty much just like this, other than the K member is powder coated. So I've got a powder coated.
Yep.
Oh, I bought speakers for the doors and for 6x9s for the rear, just to be able to mock in those and make sure before I painted everything that all the speakers went in that I wanted to put in. And I'll probably put some bigger speakers behind the seats or some sort of box or something in the trunk. But for right now, I wanted to make sure I knew the size for the front dash, the size for the rear. If you noticed in the pictures earlier, the whole rear package tray was completely trashed. I'm not sure if I get a picture of that. It might have one 6x9 hole cut and put in, and you can see how trashed the other side was. So I just made my own little speaker panel box, what would you call it, plate, that they mount to. Documenting the dash here, and I think they put blue paint around because all the chrome was gone, so I'll probably have to replace all that. Or not, is I may do something custom with some grinding with the grinding wheel to give it a 3D effect when you put some powdered clear over the top of it. So I might do something like that. Took out all my gauges, and I will probably get some sort of restoration sticker kit for them, because you can see how they look like they've been in a fire. They're all yellowed and stuff.
To get your you bought a new TikTok tack.
Yep, because that was robbed out of my car.
Yeah.
And that earlier when we were talking, the instrument cluster behind the seat that was in the first pictures in Fort Wayne, that I bought. Somebody said it was a dash with TikTok tack in it, and I didn't really know what a TikTok tack was, so it just had a clock.
Yeah.
That's all it was, but I thought it was the TikTok tack. I didn't notice the RPMs around the outside of it. So there's the front speaker panel. I think you can, if you're wondering how wide they are up under the dash, but there's lots of different options for speaker combinations, so this happened to be the one that was in mine. So yeah, I think it's a 4x10. But more documenting. Sorry, yawning. It's late here. But these are all the grill documenting pieces, just showing all the nuts and bolts and hardware that hold it all together.
Yep.
And that's the piece that I didn't think that I had, but it's up in the rafters. So all that will be, I'm sure, in a future continuation vid. But this is the prequel vid for all the stuff we did before. So all that stuff we pretty much soaked in the what's the screw loose stuff? Was it screw loose that we used? Or?
Yeah, it's blaster, whatever.
Blaster stuff that we soaked all the hardware, because I think we might have tried to take a couple off, and there's some plastic pieces being held that you've got to be really careful disassembling that whole grill assembly. And 69 is different from 68, different from 70. So 1 year only grill here. So if you need to look at photos, I don't think the grill had ever come out of this car, but
I don't know.
But I don't know. It all looks pretty factory, pretty caked with. Well, nothing's changed for 20 some years since I've had it. So
right. Yeah,
there's a few little unique connectors that are all in a box up there that I wanted to make sure get back in the right spot. And mount. I mean, all that fit really well, so I want to really make sure I'm getting it all back together the exact same way.
Right.
That'll be a whole series of grill assembly videos.
Grill. You got your,
stay tuned.
Whether
viewers.
you're going to use an electric, electric door motor instead of using those vacuums.
Yeah, I think they're fairly cheap. Not fairly cheap, but $150 or so, or $300 for a kit for all of it. So I don't know how any of that hooks up. So I might buy something and then do a video on it that demonstrates how to put it all in for anyone that's scared to do it themselves. I'm sure it's probably straightforward, but
yeah, I would imagine.
Grill looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not beat up.
It's all
not
soaked.
wrecked,
It's
not
all
broken.
pretty soaked right there with the screw loose stuff. But yeah, I don't really notice that I needed to buy much stuff except maybe another eyepiece, because I've got 2 or 3 of those that I've collected over the years that are all pretty malformed, I would say.
Yeah.
Why is the eyepiece damaged on every 69 out there?
Always gets bumped. Carts run into them.
I guess.
If you pull in too close, that's usually the first thing right at the right height that gets bumped.
I guess.
And it's so thin, if you bump it, it's dented.
This wasn't always an iconic car. It used to just be a car people drove.
That's right.
Now it's a zebra unicorn out in the wild if you see one.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, lots of grill pictures here. So I'm happy I've got all these, and if I'm the only one that goes back and watches this video, at least I can go to a video and see all of the pictures of a 69 Charger. Right. Yeah, those little spacers in between, those are 2 little plastic spacers that has to go back together to spread out that grill a little bit. It almost kind of accordions out a little bit.
You wouldn't know that unless you took one apart yourself.
Yeah, and if you put that back together and just cinch those down, you're going to crack the plastics, because it's not meant to be sandwiched together like that. Well, I'm glad we took as many photos as we did here. I mean, the headlight rings and stuff like that, I'm not concerned with. That's pretty easy, but seeing a photo is 10 times better, I think, than looking in our service manuals. Those service manuals for detail stuff, like how that spring is mounted, I don't know. So maybe I did need to see the spring holding down the headlight. This first picture, that's kind of the adjustments I made. This is a bottom side view of it. It looks 3D. It's a wild photo that looks like it's coming at you, but it's actually going away there.
Yeah, it is.
So that's kind of all the hacking in. That's new seat.
Tracks.
Seat tracks. And then that's kind of fitting in the 6x9s. I don't know. I didn't see that you could tell how terrible the 6x9 holes were, but they were really, really hacked up, like somebody took a sawzall in there and just sawed everything out. Yeah, look at the top part of that photo. You can see the start of original and then just hacked out everywhere all around. So I did that more as a package tray frame to connect it all together. Yes, it'll hold a 6x9, but it also, I needed metal to make a package tray back there.
Yeah.
So that'll be one of those things that I'm not ever going to take this car and have it judged in some concours d'elegance, whatever.
There's your golden seat tracks that you can't ever find them for sale.
Yeah. That's a seat back. I think that's just one of them. It had a little piece of foam over the top of it, and then I think that's the 6x9s actually welded in. And then this is the rear roof. Where it came down, you can see it's Swiss cheese there. The roof was all great, and there's a shot of the front where that meets the cowl, and that's the piece in there. You can see it's just a piece of metal in there, and then there's all the little stitching. I tried not to heat up everything. I didn't do the best job, as I didn't get it perfectly even. You're killing me with that drink all night. Sorry, viewers. My dad's an ice cruncher. But there it is, all stitched together. And worked on that, too, to make that right. And it still wasn't the best. And now we get into some pretty stuff here.
Putting some motors together. Oh, there's a little...
There she blows. Hey. I thought that was a photo. I didn't know it was a video.
Yeah.
There's all the pieces laid out. I think that I've seen this 1,000 times on motor shop shows that they're putting together a motor, and it was good to lay it all out and kind of follow the manual, put all the stuff in, and I would say we didn't have a single hiccup putting anything in. Everything went perfect and kept rotating over the motor. It had the right amount of friction, the right amount of resistance as we put each one of the pistons in, but I always thought it was easier than I thought. I guess I was intimidated by it. Here I've got the die grinder and just port matching all of the. There's you can see on the left side that black mark. All that black mark gets ground out to where it marries perfectly. And there's all the aluminum shavings that I had to grind out of that intake. So I kind of port matched it as best I could because that's what I heard that you're supposed to do. So, and cleaning all that stuff is a nightmare. But
what kind of intake did you get?
I think it's Edelbrock.
Okay.
I think it's no, it's a Holly. It's a Holly. Because I got the Holly sniper system on it, which you only see one photo of that. But yeah, if you know what those heads are, I'd love for somebody to put in the comments or to email me at ClarksPlace@yahoo.com and tell me what kind of heads those are. Because
they're not marked, are they?
I heard they came from Australia or something like that, but I don't know. I wish I did. And these are all parts for the motor that I'm about to powder coat. Those little three nut lockdown bars that kind of hold the valley pan in, and they get powder coated. And yeah, there they are. And a few other little pulley. Oh, there's the brackets. I've got those off for the front bumper and laid them out just to make sure they look pretty good. They were all pretty solid. No real rust. They cleaned up pretty nice. You've got to blast everything. I think this is all the parts blasted and ready to be heated, and then throw some powder on them. And that'll turn out really good. I like them. There's my oil pan. I went with white because the car is red and white. And there's the cleaned up K member, basically blasted and everything.
It's white, and you're not going to use that either.
Nope. So I've got a white K member for somebody, or we could scuff it and powder coat it black. It'll just be 10 times heavier. But yeah, all that turned out pretty nice, and I was pretty pleased with that. And
yeah.
Another picture of the block. And got the timing cover, balancer, stuff starting to go in, painted, oil pans on, fuel
pump.
And then there's hood hinges. I did white with those, but I might change my mind. I might paint those body color. I don't know.
Yeah, there's all kinds.
And there's kind of what we do, taking them out of the powder coating of it, and just they're still really hot, so we'll take them out and throw them
hang them up.
And one
head,
one buddy installed, 2 buddies installed, and that Mopar insignia that gets covered. You won't ever see that. So this is the only time you'll see the cool powder coated timing cover that has a nice Mopar logo on it. Yeah, I was pretty impressed at us and following the instructions that everything worked out. But we've got tons of nice tools that we can do a lot of good work. I think I had a new seat track, and then there's the valley pan. We painted it body color as well. And there's trans and bumper mounts. There's the Holly sniper system that I got. You can get those from MAK TV, so talk to the guys at MAK TV. They'll hook you up with a good deal. And then I don't know if that is an MSD cap on that sniper distributor, but I thought it would be cool considering the original car motor said MSD inside on the firewall. I thought that would be a neat touch. If I do have anything MSD on it, I'll put a sticker like what was on it from when I got it. And that's
the intake, water pump,
pretty much together there. Then we get back to the car.
Oh, I got your valve covers.
Got them. I powder coat those flat black. So those are on. And I don't know. I like the look of it like that. I think it's gonna look cool. But you hate the white on it?
No, I don't hate it.
There it is. That's the only picture you'll see kind of pretty much fully assembled there. And then it starts to come back apart. And I think that's pretty much how it's been sitting for a year. I mean, we just turned it over again to make sure all oil's going. But there's another couple pictures of all the stats. And there's the whole floor is in and trying to sand all the black stuff off of it. and all the welds. I think this is the one that we put in your Mustang, but that's a fan shroud we made with some electric fans. The roof got the, what do you call that again? Oh yeah, did all that in the etching primer, and new doors, they're etched. Yeah, so I had forgotten that I had all these photos that we did all that separate, but I guess we had to do the insides of them, then we have to do the outsides of everything. So everything got that. And I don't know if this is a new trunk deck or not. I think this is the new trunk deck, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we just sprayed it primer black.
Maybe.
Or maybe the first coat of black primer is what that was.
Could have been.
That's my original hood.
Yeah, we started messing with it and we decided we weren't going to.
So that's my original hood. I bet you this was before I started to look at it. Yeah, that's original trunk, original hood, and then I think these were the last pieces that I think you might have bought those for me.
Yeah, I think I did.
It was like, I think you were like, no, we're not putting that trunk deck and that hood on there. You might even be pointing at it saying, this isn't gonna fly.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much together with everything. Yeah, I think those are the old ones, and then we end up getting some new. So disassembly again, and then there's those console mounts that I said. It's just two stupid three brackets, because oh, you can see it's gray too. I did the weld through primer on that as well. But yeah, it's just two brackets. I looked all online, and it's like all it is a piece of metal bent that you can screw the console down to. So I wasn't going to spend $100 and some odd, whatever it is, on them.
So we had to mock up using your console to make sure the holes lined up, and kind of put it in the same place.
Yeah,
you could see on the hump of the floor was still original.
Yep.
And you could see where it had some weld marks of where it went. So
Correct.
We had a guide.
Yep.
And I mean, it went in fine.
Yep. I think maybe those hanging down there are now, since we're in the primer stage, that they are the new panels. So new doors, new front aprons, new quarters, some of the cowl repaired, new trunk floor, new drop downs in the back, new taillight panel, new Dutchman. That's
speaker panel.
Well, I can't say that. The speaker panel is,
yeah, but it's solid and good.
Yeah, it's good. So yeah,
and some rocker, B-pillar.
I liked it sprayed black. I always took pictures for each coat of the black and the white, and then we start into some body work that I had already done before we did any filming on the ClarksPlace channel. This is before we had any GoPros or anything like that. And to fix that roof, I heated and quenched and pushed and prodded and spinning disked to get it as flat as I could, and then I had to skim coat the whole thing because it still had some ripples. The
years of throwing things on top of it
made
you do a lot of work.
Don't use your car as a shelf.
That's right.
Because it will cost you. Let me tell you.
Even this metal,
money or time,
in a charger. They are hard and very strong, but you throw stuff on top of them and they still will dent.
Yeah, I saw some white sealer on there too. I don't know why I sprayed white on it. See there?
Oh yeah, see.
I don't know why I sprayed white.
Oh, that could be primer.
Oh, maybe it just looked white.
Yeah, it just looked white.
That's kind of
where it is now. Maybe a little more done because you've gone through 2 gallons of primer. Maybe more.
Yeah, at least a gallon of black and a gallon of gray. Maybe 2 gallons of gray.
And it's the 2K high build stuff.
But each time I would spray it, and then we would turn all the lights out.
Yeah,
and
you
then
can see all the different layers.
Look all the different layers as I'm blocking. Look at around the front fender. That just almost like I don't know, what do you call it, a kaleidoscope effect of different textures. And I would get down to green, or I would get probably right near the base there.
And we had a long block, and you just block and block, not aggressively, but just to try to get it down.
Look how variegated that is. Yeah. I mean, and then it
over and over and over until
Oh, look, your Challenger's in primer in the back in black. I saw that.
Oh, was it? Yeah, see, we're getting up to today. There's a new gun we got.
There's the Nason paint, the R4 paint that I use.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, speaker panels are primed and all that good stuff. And still that right side is still, we would get it all black, then I'd get it all gray. And then Pops and I would go around with a flashlight, a single point of light, aim down it. And
with the lights out,
we would see a shadow here. We'd see a shadow there. And I'd put a piece of tape and I'd go around like, and that's the worst thing to do. Don't put tape when you're going to Bondo. Because
then you leave a hard edge and you got to sand all that out.
Hard edge. And same with spraying primer. Don't spray on a hard line, because then you've got body work to get out your stupid spray line. So take that to heart. Don't use tape. Just spray around it, fade it out, and then there's all the Hotchkiss
There's all the Hotchkiss stuff I put on the Challenger.
I think that you got it for the Challenger. Then you thought twice about it. You thought you might do your original. So I think I took all the pictures of it.
Because you were going to put it on your car.
I was going to do it on mine. Oh, and here's the sin of the rocker. So don't make this mistake either. Is welding your rocker in too close. So you got to fit the rocker to the fender and all that good stuff too. I think there's the ashtray.
Yeah.
And I think I had to do some repair on the ashtray. Stupid thing. There's an RT out of the catalog. You saw a picture of the RT in the catalog earlier. I'm trying to figure out something with the Cricut to make an RT mask.
There's a Challenger's all green. So we're getting, there's your model.
Yeah, there's the model I sprayed with the paint as a test to see how the paint did, spraying on the line with the airbrush, and all of it peeled off and ended up looking pretty good with the RT stripe and everything on it. So we are getting close to the end here.
Getting close to the end. Everybody's ready to cheer if they've been watching the whole thing.
Say, those idiots can talk about a car.
I'm about ready to go to bed.
Oh, there I've got the chrome fit. So this is to the point where we started making some videos. Is the chrome rear quarter extension that Geek and Son keyed in on. That shout out to him again for putting us on his site. And I'll put a couple logos, I think, editing, and put a couple logos here and there.
There's a thing that holds two doors that Chris welded up. It's on wheels. You can see it's just some angle iron, and with wheels, it's braced. You can put it on there, wheel it all around, and paint your doors, if you want, on that.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And it's not bolted up anywhere.
Yep, all looks pretty good there.
Yeah, it does look really good.
I think I've down to where I don't think I got. Well, that's our last slide. So thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye-bye.